So what we are anticipating in the year 2021 and times ahead, maybe for the next 5 to 7 years, the kind of computing that are going to take place in the rapidly in the industry will be the combination or amalgamation of various kind of computing. Like we'll have the mist computing, where M stands for mist computing, then I for IoT, Internet of Things, C is for the cloud computing, E is for the edge computing. Now, in the edge computing, also now around 2 years back, a lot of work has been started in the area of IoT plus edge computing together. So, amalgamation of both the Internet of Things together with the edge computing. Then, elastic computing, fog computing, and the fluid computing. So, these are all the different offshoots of the Industry 4.0 standards. Nowadays, if you look into the market, into the industry, everywhere there's an Industry 4.0 standard on the web, which talks of the emergence of the various kind of the small or big computing paradigms. So this massive computing is a big term under the Industry 4.0 standards that talks of offering many kind of computing paradigms on a single platter. So we'll discuss every kind of computing one by one. Now this diagram is very important. So if you have to have understanding of different kind of computing paradigm, we must look into it. It was available on the ResearchGate, so you can look at the photo designed by Anatol Badach way back in the June 2018, wherein he tried to design a diagram where many kind of the computing paradigms can be looked in a single frame. So if you start right from the top here, we'll have the IoT concept to support content-aware real-time application. Content-aware means we're talking of the real data, the data content as, because Internet of Things is nothing but the collection and the aggregation of the data which is sensed by the sensors. So a lot many applications will be there. So in the top layer, if you see the layer one, it talks of the IoT application. So they have multiple kind of machines. So you can design a IoT network, maybe in any kind of the domain like smart home or smart office, or if you want to work in a real-time scenario, you can design an IoT network, let's say on a Thar desert, or maybe in like Rajasthan, or maybe in the mountainous terrain, or maybe in like all the oceanic seabeds, the river water seabeds, real-time IoT network if you want to design. So they all work on the top layer, what we say application layer of the OSI model. So here also, here we have got a topmost layer that will comprise of multiple kind of the IoT applications. Now moving down the line, if you come to this cloud, the yellow color cloud environment, here if you see we have got a cloud computing as a domain. And this cloud computing will provide hosting of the multiple IoT application service platforms. So these are all the IoT clouds. IoT clouds means a combination of both the Internet of Things and the cloud computing. So the data which is being sensed by the sensors can now be shared across the multiple cloud servers across the world. And this can be used for designing smart cities, smart healthcare systems, Internet of Vehicles, or maybe nowadays we have got a blockchain application also coming up. So they all comprise on this kind of the environment. Now this can be totally non-real time or partially real time or completely real time. That depends upon the kind of the data, the criticality of the data as such. So this is cloud computing. CC stands for, so no real time data is there. It's all the data is going to be visualized. The user is not allowed to edit or modify the data. Moving down the line, we'll have the fog computing. So we'll have the multiple number of fog nodes, which will be below the IoT plus cloud nodes. And here again, the decentralization take place. The data is being shared among the multiple number of the entities. So we do not perform any hardcore real-time computing on the fog nodes. They're only meant for distribution of the data across the multiple kind of the servers. Now from the no real time, we move to the partial real time, and now we have got the real time data. So if you are carrying out the online transactions on the any kind of the web-based environment, so all those data will be shared across the multiple gateways. So we have got the IoT access gateways here. We can have the routers, we can have the switches, we can have the bridges, we can have the routers, the combination of bridges plus the routers, all being hosted on this particular layer. So layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and the layer 4. That is all the IoT access gateways. Now moving down, if you look further here, we have got a roof computing. Small triangles are available here, which are directly connected to the fog nodes in the fog domain. And from there, we'll have multiple number of small nodes which will access or share the data from the roof nodes. So they all belong to the category of wireless sensor ad hoc networks, what we call WSAN network, wireless sensor ad hoc networks. So multiple kind of data is there. Data emanate or data emerges right from the topmost layer, the IoT applications, and then it goes on to the dissemination state. Data start getting shared onto the cloud computing domain, to the fog computing domain, to the roof computing domain, also called type of the edge computing. But edge computing is actually this computing. The computing that takes place at the node level is called as a edge, means closest to you. Edge itself means something which happens right at the periphery of the network. So roof computing is rightly written here as a kind of edge computing, but in real manner, edge computing happens at these multiple number of minuscule nodes, which you are seeing here, which are connected to the roof node servers. So depending on the criticality of the data, we further move it down to the node level. So if someone asks you the question of your own knowledge also, at which computing the real-time data is handled more appropriately, the answer is edge computing. The edge computing is more closer to the user, more closer to your real-time data. For example, if you're doing online transaction, it is you who enter the credit card number, the CVV number, and the expiry date of the card. So you are working at the edge of the network. Now, if that network, now network again can be wired network or the wireless network, right? So if it is a wireless network, then we come to the WSN, wireless sensor actor network, or wireless, the correct ways, wireless sensor ad hoc network. Actor is not the right word to say, but ad hoc network is the right word to say. So either I can have a WSN network, wireless sensor ad hoc network, or I can have the DTN, delay tolerant network, or I can have the Bluetooth network, or I can have the opportunistic network. Because the network also, we have got multiple kind of the network which are now there is a part of the wireless network domain. So this slide is the summary slide of the multiple kind of computing paradigm that exist. I had a choice, either I could show it in the last of the talk, or what I thought right now, in the initially only if I share this slide, the diagram, the thing should become clear in our mind that what every computing feeds other computing. Every kind of computing provides the output which act as an input to the next kind of the computing paradigm. So if you remember, see the layers here start from the IoT to the cloud to the fog to the IoT access gateway, which works on the GW, the gateway computing. Then we come to the roof computing, which stands for real-time on-site operation facilitation computing. And finally, filtering down to the edge computing, which are a part of the wired network or the wireless network. Means it could be in the part of IEEE 802.3 Ethernet network or IEEE 802.11 standard, what we got the ad hoc networks, the wireless LANs. So this diagram is very good in the sense it brings together many kind of computing in a single frame. Now let's go to each computing one by one and try to understand more about them. So we start with the main objective of the MySurf computing. Why this kind of computing is gaining prominence in the industry 4.0 standard. So the first objective is to facilitate data capturing, data routing, and data analysis between the nodes of the network. Now all these things are sequentially connected. First of all, the capturing of the data has to be done. Means sensing of the data has to be done by the sensor nodes of the network. Once the data has been captured, then we go to the routing of the data. Means movement or the transmission of the data from the remote sites to a server site where the analysis can be done. So once we capture the data, then we route the data and then we do the analysis of the data. Now analysis, I can use various kind of the artificial intelligence algorithms, like we have got the supervised and the non-supervised learning algorithms. So I can use the clustering, support vector machine, KNN, many kind of the algorithm exist. I can do a good analysis of the data. So in IoT, we talk of the capturing of the data. Cloud talks of the sharing of the data, distribution of the data over the network between the cloud service providers, and the artificial intelligence, which include the machine learning, the data science, and everything. They talk of the analysis of the data. Once the data is there in place, they will do the cleaning of the data, refining of the data, filtration of the data, treatment of null values, and then the application of the algorithms, supervised and the non-supervised learning algorithms, to analyze the data to come up with a useful conclusion or inference. And also another objective of the MySafe computing is to push intelligence and data processing capabilities down closer to a point where the data originates. Now from where the data will originate, right at the node level, at the edge of the network. Means if I am working on my laptop, I am connected to the network, I am using the edge node. I am working at the last lag or last end point of the network. So I am working as a part of the edge node in the entire network. However, in the network, there could be many other kind of servers like application servers, web servers. Now these are the multiple servers in between the network till the point where we got a web server, the cloud service providers are there. Then finally we'll have the reach to the servers level, the cloud service provider servers as such. But we between me and the cloud service provider server, there could be multiple number of the application server and the host of the web servers from whom the data will might flow, might get processed. For example, those of you who have done advanced Java, or if you're familiar with the MVC architecture, model, view, and the controller architecture, first of all, the user interacts with the view layer. So we use a server-side programming like ASP.NET and the JSP that works on the view layer of the MVC architecture. Then the data flows to the controller layer. So we have the servlets, we have got the EJBs, we have got a Hibernate, we have got a Struts, Spring, Velocity. So the Java-driven programs of these technologies are written where they define the business logic, the business function, the business rules of the different programs. So data moves from the view layer to the controller layer. Now, if my server-side programming requires a connection to a database, so we'll move to the model layer. From the model layer, we connect to a database. So I can use the ADO.NET if I'm using Microsoft technologies, or I can use a JDBC, or I can use a Hibernate to connect to the database. And then I can fire my SQL statement, what we call DDL, DML, and the DCL statement. Data definition language, data manipulation language, and the data control language. So the triangle exists: model, view, and controller. View layer will take the data as input from the user, pass it on to the controller layer, where we'll do the processing of the data, apply the business logic or the business rules on the data, and then send the data for the storage through the model layer. So from the model layer, connectivity will take place with the database. And then finally coming back to the view layer. So this entire triangle, the user is at the edge node. So my view layer in the MVC architecture serves as a edge node. And the kind of processing or computing which get done at the edge node, we call it as a edge computing. So when we say the statement, pushing the intelligence and data processing down to the point from where the data originates, that means we are talking of the edge node, and in a larger perspective, the edge computing. Moving on with the further objective of it, another objective is to decrease the network traffic and the internet latency, because we have seen in the times of pandemic, everyone has got hooked onto the network. Everyone got working on the web somewhere or the other, doing some kind of the stuff, maybe doing the online shopping for getting the foods and grocery materials, or maybe doing the office work. The entire IT industry, so many companies have now work from home is there, and many companies are working directly from the customer, the user is connected to his office and network right from his home. And so many education institutions like ours and many other universities, schools, and colleges, they're all working on the network. So much amount of the data is now moving onto the network that the network is getting clogged up. Also, there are so many number of social media platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, Signal. They're all draining the network. They're all consuming the network. As a result, network performance is drastically going down. Another objective of the MySafe computing in the times to come is to improve the system response time in response to the remote mission critical application, because sometimes the data is very critical. It need to be delivered quickly to the destination, and if the network is clogged up with so much amount of the irrelevant data, then definitely the performance of the servers, performance of the network drastically goes down. So another objective of the MySafe computing in the next 5 to 7 years, where a lot of work is being getting done, is to improve the system response time, especially in terms of the tough times or the critical mission critical application. Also, another objective is to reduce the amount of the data which can be sent onto the cloud. Because if every kind of the data is being sent to the cloud, it will again drain off the resources. It will consume the network performance. Because if you see, when we measure the performance of the routing protocols on the network, we use certain metrics, like we use a message delivery ratio, MDR. number of message delivered divided by number of message generated. We use the word throughput. We use the word latency, the delay. We use the word overhead. So these are the metrics that decide what is the current performance of the network. And if so much amount of the unnecessary data, like we have seen in WhatsApp, uh, country with a population of 135 crores like ours, almost out of 135 crores, if let's say 90 crores people are having mobile phones, out of them at least 45 crore people just send good morning messages. So much amount of the dummy data, useless data, senseless data comes onto the network, and somewhere or the other it start degrading the network performance. Though companies keep on investing the money, but then again every network has a limit. We can't have a network with infinite bandwidth. No network can be that can offer that kind of performance. We can't have a network with infinite number of nodes. There has to be upper limit, and somewhere or the other the performance of the network will go down. Now the first alphabet M refer to the mist computing in the MySafe computing. So we say processing at the hardware level or at the embedded system level is usually referred to as the mist computing. So when I'm doing a computing at, let's say, at my PC, at my node, or at my smartphones, or maybe now we got smart TVs, smart automobiles are there. So when the processing of the data gets done not at the software level, but at the hardware level, we say they are all we refer to the word as mist computing. So always remember, mist refer to the hardware level computing. And the mist computing is the extreme edge of a network, typically comprising of the microcontrollers, the microcomputers, and the sensors, because they all work at the hardware level. So mist computing uses the microcomputers and microcontrollers to feed the data into the fog computing node. Fog, again, if you remember in the diagram, we got a fog layer, the intermediate layer, on which you have a multiple number of the nodes which will act as the fog nodes, and potentially onward towards a centralized cloud computing service. So if I'm working at the edge node, I am generating a data. Data gets pushed from my machine, from my node, or from my PC towards the roof computing. From the roof, it's further get pushed to the fog nodes. The diagram, if you see, if you're moving the diagram from the bottom to the top, and then to the cloud, and then finally to the IoT application. Now this diagram also shows the same thing. The cloud layers work at the higher layer, the remote data centers. Then we have the fog layer, which can comprise of the nodes, the PCs. Again, that could be your smartphones or the laptops or the desktops, any kind of the PCs, the hardware and the storage near to the end user. And when with any kind of processing done gets done at the edge layer, we use the word mist layer. So it talks of the embedded system and the devices. So I can use the MICRs, magnetic and character recognition. I can use the OCRs. Any kind of the device can be used at the edge layer. So this diagram also replicates the same thing. Uh, right at the top, the devices are in hundreds. They further include 1,000. And at the move down the layer, at the edge layer, we have got a millions and millions of devices which are being used by the user, because nowadays we have seen that in every house we might get at least 4 to 5 smartphones. Some two or even one or two smart TVs are there. Now we got smart refrigerators. So many number of the smart devices are there, and all of them are all, when you talk about smart TVs, they're all connected to the web. You can go to any of these Amazon Primes and Netflix, and you can watch all those web-based content onto the smart TVs, which was not a case around 5 to 7 years back. So a lot of work is getting done at the hardware level, and that is all the mist computing. Moving on, we talk of the IoT. So we'll hardly just touch the IoT from the point of perspective of the MySafe computing. Otherwise, IoT is a full-fledged branch where a lot of work is getting done. And this is the person to whom the credit is given for introducing the IoT, Kevin Ashton, a British technology pioneer who co-founded the Auto ID Center at the MIT, which created a global standard for the RFID and the other sensors. So today a lot of work is getting done in the IoT, which is a part of the MySafe computing, and MySafe computing in turn is a part of the Industry 4.0 standards. And in 1989, he's given the credit of coining the word Internet of Things. So now we have got Internet of almost everything. We say IoE. Initially, we have got only few. Now everyone is getting hooked onto the network. Now, cloud computing, we are already familiar. So when we MICEF, MIST, M stand for MIST, I stand for Internet of Things, C stand for the cloud computing, which I hope everyone is now familiar with the basic definition of it, which was first introduced by the NIST, National Institute of Standard and Software Technology. The cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. Now, this is very important. On-demand means when you ask for it, resources are provided to you over the network. So you get access to the resources on the network. And all these resources are a part of the big logical container, what we call as a shared pool. And what are the resources we are talking of in a shared pool? Network, servers, storage areas, the hard disk, the RAMs, the cache memory, everything kind of the storage. Various kind of the applications which are provided as software as a service or platform as a service, and different kind of the services, all three rather. Platform as a service, software as a service, application service. Nowadays we have a database as a service. So many services now being offered on the cloud domain, which can rapidly be provisioned and released. Rapidly means quickly you can release the resources, quickly you can take it back. So it's more like elastic word. You release the resources to the virtual world, and then when there's no more requirement, you take back the resources. So rapidly provision and release. That's how the word we say the word, with the minimal management effort or service provider interaction. Service providers are cloud service providers like the Google, the Amazon, the IBM, the companies who have set up big cloud server domains for providing the data or sharing the data among the multiple kind of the users around the world. Now, this is also a good slide which I found where many things can be represented as a part of the IoT stack, Industrial Internet of Things. Now, again, IoT is a part of the Industry 4.0 standard. And here we can see that we have got a layers, the cloud layer, the fog layer, and the edge layer. So when we talk of the cloud layer, we talk of the many big things like big data processing. Now, big data, we know, again, big data is not a normal ordinary data. So there are various V's of the big data. We say volume of the data, veracity of the data, versatility of the data, uh, ver- uh, voraciousness of the data. So many kind of V's are there. That means what kind of data we say is a big data. Is it a normal data? We say no. The normal data is not a big data. Is it only the volume of the data? Yes, the answer is yes. But not only the volume, but the variety of the data should be there. The real-time audio video processing of the data is taking place. Like I'm fetching the data from the LinkedIn or from the Twitter or from the Facebook. That's a real-time data which I'm fetching as such. So I need to use accordingly big data tools like MongoDB and Hadoop for handling real-time critical applications, real-time critical data on which I can apply the business logic or the business tools. I can apply the BI tools, various kind of the business intelligence tools are there which can be applied for carrying out the visualization of the data, for the analysis of the data. Then from the cloud layer, I can move it down to the fog layer, which comprises multiple number of fog nodes and fog servers. That's the second layer. It's all local network. Data analysis and data reduction is being done here. It controls the response virtualization and the standardization of the data as such. But the most important layer is the edge layer where we as an end user work. So we are working more at the application layer. And here large volume real-time data processing usually gets done at the source or maybe at the on-premise data visualization. I can do it at the remote location or I can do it at the local location. The embedded systems are getting done, which are a part of all the smart TVs, smart refrigerators, smart televisions, smart automobiles. They're all a collection of multiple number of embedded systems. We can have the gateways and the micro data storage entities all residing onto the application layer of the IoT stack. That is what we call the edge layer, where the user work. So I can be using my smartphones or desktop or PCs for generation of the data, for capturing of the data, for visualization of the data. And if you see the arrow on the right hand side, as you move down, we'll have it faster. So if you can just look at the down, we have the faster data processing. Then going up, the data processing gets slower. So at the user level, we'll have a huge amount of the data to data generation take is getting done at the user level. Data because user is continuously working various kind of the softwares. He's generating the data and he's viewing the data, he's editing the data, he's modifying the data. So data, good amount of data generation and data visualization gets done at the edge layer. So these three are important layers, and they will remain like this in the next 5 to 7 years, where a lot of work is getting done more at the edge layer, slightly less at the fog layer, and very less at the cloud layer, because they are more at the distribution level. Whereas generation of the data is all done at the edge layer. We will have the multiple number of the nodes and the PCs, all calling as the edge nodes. So in the MySafe, after the C, we have got the alphabet E, and that called as edge computing. Now, how the edge computing is defined, let us see what the IBM and Cisco says about the edge computing. So edge computing is a distributed computing framework that brings enterprise application closer to where data is created and actions are taken. Now, when we talk of the enterprise application, we're talking of the business-oriented applications, the ones that where the business processing gets done, where decision making is done, and is closer to where data is getting created. Creation of data takes place at the user level. So let's take a real-time example. I want to take a policy, the insurance policy from the insurance company. So what I do here, I open the web portal of any insurance company, or maybe policybazaar.com or any other web portal, and first of all, they will ask me to create a login ID. I need to sign up first, give my basic information like my name, my residential address, my phone number, my email ID. All information need to be provided to the company first. Then they will allow me to create their account. Then once the account is created, now they will give me the whole lot of information uh, regarding the kind of policies they offer to me, the medical insurance, the health insurance, the household insurance, then the kind of premium I need to pay to get this insurance, maybe monthly premium or quarterly premium or annual premium. So this kind of the thing, what we say the enterprise based application, where the real uh, logical decision making has to be done by the customer. The company will provide the information. So if I'm buying a policy, I go to the policy based portal. If I want to buy a ticket from the airlines or railway, I will go to the portal where tickets are being offered. So the business logic or the business rules of the insurance company is different from the business logic or business rules of the railway reservation system or the airways reservation system. Or if I want to book a hotel, I go to the trivago.com or any other portal which offer me the booking of the rooms of the hotel. So they will give me a user interface, and first of all they will also ask me to provide the basic information. I enter my basic information, then I can create my accounts, and then I can enter the information where I would like to travel, from date to date, the kind of accommodation I want from the hotel, 5 star or 7 star hotel, whether the complimentary breakfast will be provided or not. So many things. So they are the business logic. They are the business functionality of that particular portal. And business logic or business rules varies from vertical to vertical. That means the business logic or the business rules of the insurance sector will be different from the banking sector. It will be different from the hotel management perspective. It will be different from the hospital management perspective. It will be different from the educational institution perspective. So when we talk of the enterprise application, we talk of the business oriented application. And every business has a different needs. No two business, no two verticals can have certain any amount of the commonality in it. They will be different. So they will offer me the choices and I will select those choices. So I am the end user who is generating the data, who is creating the data. And then they are doing a validation checks on the kind of data which I'm providing to them. So I generate the data at the edge layer and I push it onto the network at the fog layer. And on the fog layer, we have a multiple kind of fog nodes which will now perform the task of data processing, data validations, and data distribution between the further nodes on the network. So that was the definition by IBM. And let's see what Cisco says about the edge computing. It brings the processing closer to the data source and it does not need to be sent to a remote cloud or other centralized system for processing. So again, edge computing basic definition remains the same. The kind of computing that is performed at the node or a PC which is closer to the user, then that kind of computing we say is the edge computing, and the device which is being used by the user is called as a edge node. For example, if I'm driving a vehicle, so the I as an end user only have access to the steering of the vehicle, or I can apply the brakes, or I can apply the push the accelerator. So these are my edge devices, edge nodes. What happens within those steerings, what is the kind of programming which has been done at the embedded system level, that will all come into the mist computing, that what decision will be taken. Similarly, I'm changing the gears. So gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just moving it. But actual functionality is already being embedded. So that will take place all at the fog layer. And if my vehicle develop certain problems, nowadays we have got the all the vehicles when they're moving onto the network, they are also connected to the companies who own them. So when I'm moving on now the vehicle we have got internet connection, these the company which owns these vehicle, let's say if I'm using for the all the big multinational companies, these vehicles are being tracked continuously by these companies, so that if any of the malfunctioning happens at any of the parts or the component in the engine, immediately the information is sent to the companies. So we got a APIs, application programming interfaces, with the help of which these devices can immediately generate the report and send the report to the company concerned, the company who's owning this vehicle, and the company can inform to the driver or to the owner of the car that your engine, let's say part A carburetor or air filter or oil filter has developed some technical snag and need to be replaced up, because they are continuously monitoring the health of the vehicle over the web. So that happens in the area of the cloud and the fog. But as a user, I am driving a vehicle, I am moving a car, so I am only working at the edge layer of the network. So this was just a word coined by the four leading industrial giants, what we say Cisco, Dell, ARM, Intel, Microsoft. And first, the concept originated at the Princeton University. And that what is edge? Because all these concepts, first of all, emerges in the academic institutions only, and later on they are commercialized and popularized by the industry. But all these concepts initially all emerges in the by the academician and researchers only. So that is how the term edge computing evolved. So edge computing offers many advantages over the traditional architecture, such as optimizing resource usage in the cloud computing domain. Now, resources we have discussed many number of times, resources are large variety of entities that can be shared in a cloud computing domain. So I can have the network, both the wired and wireless network. When we talk of the wired network, we talk of the LAN, MAN, WAN. And wireless network, we do not talk any of the differences. Wireless network is wireless network. But a wireless network offers various other kind of the network in its own platter. Like we've got the flying ad hoc network, FANETs. We've got a vehicular ad hoc network, the VANETs. We've got the delay tolerant networks. We have got the WSN network, wireless sensor network. We've got the ad hoc network. So various branches or category of the wireless network exist, but there are no classification like LAN, MAN, and WAN in the case of the wireless network. So one of the resources is network, another resource is the processor. So we have seen the virtual CPUs, vCPUs, which are being offered by the broker of the cloud service providers. Then we have got a different kind of the storage medias, the primary memory, the hard disk, the secondary memory, the cache memory. Then various kind of the network peripheral devices like routers, switches, gateways. So these are all the resources which are being offered in the cloud computing domain by the cloud service provider. And we have seen the concept of virtualization, so which was introduced by the Goldegg and Popperberg, that using the virtualization, I can create multiple small instances of these resources, and I can share them, I can distribute them over the network. Another advantage, performing computation at the edge of the network reduces the network traffic, which reduces the risk of data bottleneck. Now that statement is absolutely true. For example, if I'm just I've designed a web page where I'm asking the user to enter the basic information like his first name, his middle name, his last name, his email address, his phone number, his father's name, father's workplace address, mother's name, mother's workplace address, mother's phone number, mother's email ID, father's name, father's email ID, the Aadhaar card number, the PAN card number. So much amount of information is being asked from the person when he's entering his data onto the web portal. Now, if I, as an end user, uh, who is a server-side programmer also and designing a website, can perform a JavaScript validations, which can check for this validation right at the client user level event. Means right at his own node or PC. For example, when you say mobile number, I can apply a JavaScript validation over the web page which has been designed using HTML and CSS, that mobile number should be 10-digit long. Second validation, it should not contain alphabets. Third validation, it should not contain any wildcard characters. like dot, digit, dollar, hyphens, white space characters. So point I'm trying to say is that when the user is entering a data into a web page, before the user clicks on the submit button, and the data which is being entered into the web page moves from the client to the server, we need to validate the data first at the client level only. And this will help us to reduce the network traffic a lot, because maybe user has entered the mobile number which is not 10-digit long. He has entered characters also in mobile digit. So I can do a JavaScript validation and stop him from pushing the data onto the network, from sending the data onto the server, or he's leaving certain leaves blank. I can do a form level validation in JavaScript. I can do a field level validation in JavaScript. I can stop him then and there only. And I say you enter the data first and then only your data will be pushed onto the network. So I can do a lot of good programming, and only the validated data, only the verified data, only with the correct data moves from the web page to the web server on the click of the submit button. Otherwise, what will happen? These all validations I need to perform at the server level. So it's better that I perform all these validation right at the client user level. Another thing we have seen nowadays, the web portals have got the web page, we got captchas, and these captchas perform a simple calculation like the addition of numbers, or you see the images, they will show you 4 or 5 images and they will ask you which of the image sun is visible, so you need to select one just to differentiate that you are a man and not a machine. You're not a bot who is doing and this kind of entry into the portals. So all these things helps to reduce the network traffic over the big networks, and that also reduces the data bottleneck. That's perfectly true for the edge computing. Edge computing also helps to improve the security of the data. So closer to the network core, while optimizing the data that is further from the core for the performance. For example, I am doing online shopping on the network. I open a web portal. After I have pushed the item into the cart, I have selected the item, add to the cart. Now it's a time to do the payment. So for the payment, I use my credit or debit card number. So they will display a web page to me where I enter my 16-digit credit card number, 3 digit of CVV number, and 6 digit of the expiry date. Right? So 16 plus 3, 19, 19 plus 6, 25. I enter 25 digits of the data. Now the server will definitely process my information when the server will receive the information. But before that, right at the client user level, and we check whether data is correct or not. So there is an algorithm like Lund's Mod 10 algorithm that check whether the credit card number is correct or not. So you can just Google it on the web. You will come to know about this algorithm. Also, let's say CVV number. It should only be 3 digit long. It should not contain characters. It should not be negative numbers. It can only be between 0 to 9. So and these three numbers are not same. So those all, it cannot be all ones, cannot be all two, it cannot be all three. That means the basic validation I can all apply right at the end user level. Now when the user click on the submit button, then I need to ensure the security of the data at the edge computing level. How I can do it? I've got two things. Either I can use a cryptography technique, so I can use apply any of the cryptographic techniques or algorithms like Caesar cipher, Wiener cipher, Railfen cipher, affine cipher, hill climbing cipher. Many kind of the monoalphabetic and polyalphabetic substitution cipher techniques are there. I can use them for security of the data at the edge layer of the edge-based network. Or I can use various kind of the algorithms, like we got two kind of the algorithms, symmetric and the asymmetric cryptographic algorithms. So I can use other symmetric cryptographic algorithms like DES and the AES, data encryption standard, which was introduced by the IBM, or the AES, Advanced Encryption Standard, which was introduced by the John Deeman and Vincent Ridgman. So these are the people who came up with this concept of the asymmetric cryptography. AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. Or I can use a symmetric cryptography like the one, the RSA, the Rivest-Shimmer and the Edelman. That means the point I'm trying to make is at the edge computing also I can do the cryptography. I can apply the cryptographic techniques and algorithms which will help me to improve the security of the data. And nowadays, a lot of blockchain technology work is also getting done at the edge layer to further improve the security of the data, because blockchain technology uses that kind of hashing algorithms like the MD5 and the SHA, Message Digest 5 algorithm, and the Secure Hash algorithm SHA, to help improve the security of the data right at the edge layer. at the edge PCs or the edge desktop or the edge laptops. So edge computing has a very bright future. A lot of computing and processing it's getting done at the edge of the network. Now, when we talk about the word MICEF, the last F stands for the last alphabet MICEF. M is for the mist, I is for the IoT, C is for the cloud, E is for the edge, and F is for the fluid computing. So the name fluid comes from the ability of resources like the CPU, the memory, and the storage to flow between the functionalities, the entities, or the peripheral devices like routers, the firewalls, the servers, and the client. Means the data is flowing. Actually, that is from where the word the fluid has come. The data is moving, the data is navigating between the peripheral devices like the routers, the firewall servers, from the CPU, from the memory, from the storage areas to the peripheral devices. And to do this, to achieve it, we use a lot many number of the virtual servers. So this is done by using a virtual servers